We still recording?
Well, we are, but I'm finding a way to
just keep it. Put it in the B-reel at the end.
No cuts. No cuts.
All right. We're back. Part 2 of the power rankings. We got the goofball crowd, 2 drinks deep now. We are analyzing the VBL Season 10 VGC Draft League season, in which regulation demons are upon us. All the genies, 500 Pokemon, a lot of the best Pokemon to ever exist. The power level is high. The quality of the coaches is very, very high in this league. Introduce yourselves again, real quick. The veterans of this league.
The quality of the mods may be high, but the quality of your reviewers is very low. You should watch the first video first. Hi, I'm Poppin. I'm ready to make some bad calls about teams.
I am Colby. I am Coach Dameron. I am the coach of the Boca Raton Bellybolts, and I have opinions.
Nice.
I am Dad, and I don't know what this Enamorus thing that I'm looking at does at all. So somebody else has to talk about this.
I'm Sakuraba, and I'm Enamorus' #1 fan, and I love it. I think it's cool. It's cute. Look at it.
I hate love.
Oh, all right. It is the season of hate, so.
I'm Goose, and I drafted Slacking with no Grafai, so.
Oh, you did. Cut that.
Cut it. I'm Boom, and I am 4 drinks deep, and I'm sorry about your team.
No. I'm gonna stand behind this team. Okay, this is Electric's team, the Shelgonbigt. I don't know.
Bite. Told me about it.
Anyway, I think this team is hype. The really cool thing about this team, it is 11 mons with 2 types. There's a lot of types here and no ice type, so I'm expecting an ice type trade in the future. This team has very interesting new Pokemon in Enamorus. It does genie things, but it has weird defenses, but it has bolt attacks and it gets superpower and contrary, so it can be a special attacker. It can scale physically. It's hard to it's easy to get rid of, but it's hard to stop from scaling. And how are we going to support it? There's excellent support pieces on this team. There's Salazzle and Dragapult, really interesting speed tiers. I'm actually really happy looking at this team having just all different rungs of speed. So, yeah, I think one of the strongest things about this team is that the pilot, Electric, knows how to build a team. He knows how to do funky stuff. He knows how to take a team that looks like it's got some weird mons and, suddenly, here's my Dragapult Gastrodon Surf mode. Here's my Decidueye Hitsui Tailwind mode. I have no idea what this team is going to do, but I think it has the tools to succeed. Brooks is a Trick Room setter. I don't think it'll click Trick Room much, but I think that Dazzling is a fantastic addition to this team. Having Enamorus, Iron Shreds, really fast Pokemon that don't really want to be faked out. I know I might get flamed for this, but I am actually a huge Wigglytuff fan. I think it's adorable, but also I think
that... Not? Yeah, I wanted it too.
Thank God
you're lucky the doc's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, come at me. Wigglytuff is a fairy type. It gets competitive. It's got a lot of HP. It can frisk things. It has support moves. It's from Gen 1 when everyone got every move. I think it's a fine pickup at 4 points, but it was 2. So
it's crazy how little its HP matters, though. I've had this Pokemon, and it is really, truly bad. But for 2 points, I think it's pretty decent.
Yeah. I will say, I know, Kobe, you mentioned that this team has a lot of supportive options, which I definitely agree. The Salazzle and Dragapult are really good at providing support. However, when you first pick Enamorus, I would have really liked to seen another way to enable contrary aside from the self methods of superpower and whatever else it gets. Because if you change that base Rotom to Electrode, it literally becomes so much more threatening because all of a sudden you outspeed the Enamorus and you can give it a +2 special attack boost with a fast Eerie Impulse.
Does Dragapult get any of that?
Does Rotom get that?
Yeah, but it's not faster. That's the problem.
You got a Scarf, baby.
Scarf, Eerie Impulse. I don't think you're bringing that to a match.
Side fake tears from Salazzle, double.
Yeah, so that's that.
He got stuff, but yeah, that would have been cool to have for sure.
I was considering Enamorus with my first pick if I didn't get such a high pick, and if I was going to go that route, I was planning on getting either a premier electric type fast that has Eerie Impulse alongside maybe even a prankster that could fake tears like you just said with Salazzle can, that can apply a defense boost. I think if you're going to draft Enamorus first, you need to provide it with support that allows it to do stuff with contrary a little more. But maybe he's not going that route, he can run Cute Charm and just support it like a regular Mon. It's definitely powerful. This thing slept on because it has 135 special attack. Its Moonblasts hit just as hard as Flutter Mane, and you also have to worry about Springtide Storm, which is an absolutely busted move. It's like the freest click of all time. There's not a lot of teams that have great fairy resists. The fact that you could hit both Pokemon with 100 base power, it's better than D-Gleam. It's really good. So
undoubtedly,
and it gets
true. A lot of teams struggle to fairies, and this is a premium fairy. So Electric, we already know he's been playing at the top of the game for a long time. The dude's played more competitive Pokemon than maybe anybody in the league. Knows what he's doing, but now I finally feel like he's got a team that matches the intensity to which he brings. I keep rating his teams as like in the middle, and I think this team has finally cracked the code. This team is really, really scary to me. Maybe I'll be the most optimistic on the call about it, but the combination of premium fairy plus premium ground has no resists. The Iron Treads has been very consistent every time it's used, and we got the speed booster bulldoze strats with Enamorus. That's how we make it even faster. We got the speed booster bulldoze with clear body. We got the speed booster bulldoze with the discharge mon that floats. So we have like some ways, so support is not the team's strongest suit, but the one way to do support is to just kill them. And like the Electric taught me, he made me a more aggressive player by saying like the most consistent method is not letting your opponent make any moves. And so he's got so much offense from so many different places that he's going to take KOs before mons get to move with a lot of speed and with a lot of power. And so that's one way to forego the need for support, though I think Salazzle and Dragapult do a lot in that regard.
Yeah, I think the supports here are a little bit different, right? You have Dragapult, you have Gastrodon, you have Salazzle, right? You have these mons that can provide support, but they can also provide offense at the same time. I think that that's really nice to have on a lot of teams because it provides another layer of like unpredictability. And this is another one of those teams, when you look at it, it's kind of like on a week-to-week basis, you don't necessarily know what's going to come. I feel kind of the same way about Enamorus, as somebody said earlier. Like, what are we doing to take advantage of Contrary? I feel like there should be a little bit more built around that, but even without it,
maybe just having superpower is enough. Like if my ability said get to click on close combat and bulk up at the same time, I think that's a fine ability.
You don't want to be running physical on Enamorus, though. That's
you can,
because
why not?
You totally could.
Like,
no, you can, but
right? If you're getting your +1 right there.
The problem with that,
it's
though,
not crazy
is that
bulky.
You're relying on play rough when you'd rather be clicking Moonblast. Not to mention the stat is lower. I don't know. I don't think superpower is a consistent bring on a mon like this. I think you'd rather have a partner with a fast Eerie Impulse to boost the special attack.
Totally agree. But I think there's I definitely think there's at least 1 week where you bring the Contrary, you bring the superpower, you bring the AV, and Enamorus just beats him down.
All right, not everybody's going to get a word in edgewise, but I'm going to try to keep this one under an hour. Who's not putting this in top tier? Because I'm putting it in top tier.
I'm definitely not putting it in top tier.
I'm kind of there.
Putting it at top of A.
I love Electric.
I think it's an A-tier team for me.
Yeah, Electric. I think Electric seems good. I just fear that Trick Room teams are going to kind of run through it. I mean, Bruxish, is it really going to stop Trick Room if it goes up? Does he have a great way to stop Trick Room? That Trick Room fears big on my side.
That's fair. Maybe we end up in top of A if I find a few teams I can put above it. But I'm very optimistic. Shall we move
S tier coach.
Mm-hmm. We don't grade the coach.
Absolutely.
S tier friend.
The Dublin Dondozos, coached by Ryan O'Giggs. We know his name's Ryan, right? Like his name's Ryan O'Giggs on the Discords, but is a second season coach. I believe it is their second draft ever, or maybe third at this point, but this is a huge improvement over their first team. I love to see the second draft glow ups from coaches, and so I'm pretty excited about the Thundurus, about the Great Tusk, about the versatile offense, and a top tier support mon. I don't need to speak forever about it. Who wants to talk about it? But I think it's cool.
Yeah. So you said it. You're right on the money. This is a astronomical improvement from the first draft. Obviously, they learned a lot in their first season. I think that Great Tusk was kind of slept on in this draft pool. I feel like people forgot, because they're all the shiny new toys, that this thing is an absolute monster. You get a booster energy on Great Tusk. You provide it with Sunny Day, with the Thundurus. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, Disquake combo that was drafted in either conference. The Thunderous is incredibly strong discharge. Great Tusk obviously has incredible power on Earthquake. I used Great Tusk last season. This thing can single-handedly win you weeks. I had one week where it literally got all 8 KOs in my 2 wins of the match. Like, he also followed it up with some interesting stuff. The Typhlosion also takes advantage of a sunny day, so he kind of has a nice sun mode going on, especially with that Leafeon pick later, which is kind of cool.
Ooh, yeah.
The Orthworm can sit next to the Great Tusk as a switch in. I think what this team is missing is a premier speed control setter. I'm mainly talking Tailwind. Maybe Thunderous is enough with the Thunder Wave, but a lot of these mons, like especially the Great Tusk, it's kind of awkward to run Protosynthesis or Booster Energy with a speed boost because you have to really not invest in attack to do that. So, you might want to choice Scarf it a lot of the time so that you could just Sunny Day and not worry about it. But I think he really followed it up with some good stuff. Don't forget that Typhlosion gets Lava Plume, and he has the Dutch Bun combo as well. So that's another mode that's available there. He's got Intimidate support on the Quillfish. Yeah. Like, this is a pretty good team. It's a little bit frail on the special side. He has the Goodra with a high special defense to back it up. I think this is definitely a great improvement for Ryan.
Does Scyther's Tailwind at 105 speed change anything?
It is.
Like,
I think it's pretty good.
Really good late pickup.
I think it's pretty good here.
It's good. Yeah.
It's not great. And then Terra Flying is an inevitability against this team just from Great Tusk, but also the fact that it's pretty good overall. So make sure you have.
This team has a lot of trouble with Terra Flying.
Yeah.
I think similarly to another S tier team that we saw earlier in the draft, it abuses multiple weathers really nicely. So we have a very clear sun mode, right, with Great Tusk, Typhlosion, Leafeon, and even Darkspun, right, with the Lava Plume. We also have a rain mode with the Basculegion, and Leafeon, even though it has chlorophyll, it doesn't hate the rain, right? It negates that fire weakness. So I think there's definitely a rain mode on this team too, and Quillfish is slapped down in the back in there. I don't know how good that Pokemon will be. I don't even know what its stats are. With Swift Swim, it's
Quillfish
95 base attack.
And Eviolite is pretty good. Eviolite is what Quillfish.
I'm a Quillfish believer.
Yeah,
and potentially fits into a rain mode too. So a couple of weathers to abuse here. Orthworm is nice with the Disquake spam that's going to be going on. So I think this team has a lot of options. I think Ryan has improved his draft a lot from the last season. I like this team.
Hydration, Rest, Goodra.
I think there's a lot of really good easy bake, just 2-mon pieces that his opponents are going to need to prep for. Like Thunderous plus Great Tusk is great. They knock out Thunderous, send an Orthworm, keep the onslaught going, right? I think there's a lot of good synergy on the offensive pieces here. And the type chart, it doesn't quite reflect in the type chart. Obviously, like Colby said, it's pretty hard dealing with flying types if Thunderous is out of the picture. But I think I mean this isn't anything new. This is a lot better team than Ryan's first draft, so props to Ryan. This is a great improvement.
Let me throw out a couple of issues and trying to be constructive here and therefore make them not issues because Ryan's already thinking about them and addressing them in the early weeks, which is this team is really good until a couple of things happen. A big one is Trick Room. There is no slow Pokemon. But another one is when the Clear Amulet comes and blocks both your Intimidates and your Eerie Impulses and anything else. Clear Amulet will come. And also when the strong special attackers come that have the Eerie Impulse block. Without the Goodra, this team is dying to special moves. Without creative prep, the team is going to lose to Trick Room, and you need to make sure to bring things like Will-O-Wisp on Typhlosion so that you still have something against physical attackers when they're blocking Intimidates or when they have Defiant for Intimidates, for example. So you gotta mix up your answers. Bringing status on Thunderous, like the T-Wave, can be really, really good. This team is really like a lot of good things. You just need to make sure that there isn't something that punches a hole in this team, and so you need to be ready to address those. But I think this is good. This is going to end up being above average in a team full of great drafts. What do you guys think?
I have it in B.
I have it in A.
I think I can't put it in A just because of that crippling Trick Room weakness. Once it was pointed out to me, I can't stop looking at it. Like this team really struggles with Trick Room. Like if Trick Room gets up, they're kind of screwed, right? Like the Stantler is not enough to defer Trick Room. The fact that it gets it itself. So
Okay, I like that.
I
That's
think
a good
the
point.
Gudra
Yeah,
is
that's
key
fair.
to this
I
team
like that.
playing in a defensive way that can
Yeah.
outlast a Trick Room. You got to acid
Definitely.
armor up and then figure it out. We have a Sunroom team, but we have a Sunroom team that is an all or nothing. Do you get Trick Room up, which was what we had last season? Well,
Is it
not
though?
all or nothing. Obviously, like that coach had ways of playing around it. But this is, I think, a pretty balanced team. As in, they had enough of a threat in the fast mode, and I'm stealing Goose's intro here. But I think Kilowatt Krook is pretty good, and the Lilligant, Chlorophyll, and Sun means that this team is not dependent on Trick Room. This team is way better in Trick Room, for sure. Like King Gambit and Torkoal are the main offensive pieces. But I think this is a fairly balanced team. My concerns come from, like, how many Mons do I respect? How many attackers do I respect? I think this team might be a little light on some of the things that I normally see in great teams, which is like a lot of offense. I really do think I like how this team seems pretty thoughtfully put together with a fair amount of different pieces that function very differently.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I mean, Torkoal by itself, if you can get it in Trick Room, is just a whole answer on its own to a lot of teams. If you don't have an answer to Torkoal specifically, it just runs you over. Torkoal Oranguru is a whole mode by itself. We've seen that thing go crazy. Oranguru can just assist any Mon really in any way, just by having Instruct, but also in Trick Room, you can have it so that it can instruct Torkoal to then click Eruption again. You also have King Gambit, which was not on the Torkoal team that we saw last season, but I think is actually a great addition onto it. King Gambit has insane bulk, which if it's attacking you first, you're probably going to lose that 1v1. Thankfully, it's a 2-on-2. But Oranguru's next to it, so then he just instructs you again. Uh-oh, Stinky, you lose. And then in the fast mode, you have Torkoal, Lilligant, Hisui, which, I mean, we obviously haven't seen Torkoal, Lilligant in this form before. Usually it's just the regular one. Still get sleep powder and all that good stuff, so you can still have some status fun.
This one's better.
It's so much better.
I don't know if it's better.
way better.
I think it is
It's
better.
totally better.
getting fighting stab is huge.
I think it'll be more fun.
Way more active.
Tatsugiri for Storm Drain is actually really nice on this team if you want to protect the most important pawn, which is Stone Joiner, but also Torkoal.
That's right.
Persian's a pretty niche pick. I think we've heard opinions that it can be kind of rough in this format, especially with
I think it's great. I think it's great.
it's still good. It
think
can
it's
be
great.
good.
Covert Cloak exists, okay? But like you have to
Yeah.
use Covert Cloak to
And
counter
Amulet.
Persian. That's a win.
Yes,
Right,
and Amulet.
right.
I think it
Yeah.
can struggle, but it's a good utility mon, especially for 5 points. I think it's worth it. Spirit Tomb is also a Trick Room mon that you can also run instead of Oranguru if you really want to. Or you could have Spirit
Gonna
Tomb run
lose.
Trick Room, and then Oranguru is just like the offensive one. And then Skrulp is the best mon in the format. So that's all I got.
So Tatsugiri protecting these water weeks is a cool idea, but like, what is Tatsugiri doing in
I'll
Seven?
tell you what it does. It makes sure you don't have to fight Dondozo Tatsugiri.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real
Like,
point.
it has
That was an
breakup
insurance
meteor,
pick.
and that is where its move pool ends. Like, it is so tragic, its move pool, when you're not clicking water moves. But I will credit Lilligant Hisui with Hustle is super real. Like, it is an immediate threat, and we have
That shit's
gravity,
scary.
so we can make sure it hits. And I think that's pretty cool. I think this is a really thoughtfully put together team, and I think ultimately where I'm going to end up with this team in the bottom half is that I think it's underpowered, and I think the number of attackers that I respect is lower than most teams. By the standards of lower power level formats, this is great, but I feel like I can outbuild this team, and it would be easier than most teams because like I can just bring a ground move and a couple other good attackers that are focused on Torkoal and King Gambit, and like I just don't respect Kilowatt as an attacker that much. Tatsugiri is an attacker, like it gets a one strong hit and then it dies. Like Stonejourner, I don't know if I really respect its offense boosting capabilities. I just think the team is a little bit short, and I don't know how to fix that because the team
It's
is so
not
cool.
bulky.
It does lots of things, but it's just
Yeah.
gonna fall short a lot.
Yeah.
Of the time.
It's not
Speaking of-
bulky enough to make up for that, too, I think.
In particular, like this team gets absolutely dumpstered by Ting Lu, Jordan. So that's you might want to bring Ting Lu. I know it's not a very good mod,
Maybe
but you
I
might
will.
consider bringing it to this matchup. This
Until
team
it
has
gets
a really
close
hard.
combated. Yeah,
Right.
This I think is going to be the most excited mon to watch. If they use Victory Dance and whatnot, it'll be really good.
What about What about Lilligant in Sun with Encore? Does that spice it up for you?
Does it get Encore?
Oh, wait, it has Encore, baby. It's about
Gets
to be
everything that base Lilligant has.
Good luck protecting that sleep powder.
Yup.
Honestly, I'm
He's
going to
about-
be thinking about that. I'm going to just play boring because that's the only thing that Encore doesn't punish.
Let's ban Encore, right, Jordan?
Let's ban Encore. You said it.
The biggest thing I think it's missing is just something that, like an ancient or whatever, the past Paradox Mon. I think it could use a lot of past Paradox Mon to enable Torkoal a little bit.
Slitherwing.
I would say
yeah.
That way
It is
shores up the
available.
dark weakness
Yeah.
a lot.
I'm down with
I think
it.
this Colby guy knows
I
what
will
he's
say
doing.
is good. Like ground types are classically good in Sun by just like beating other fires and not being weak to waters anymore. So we have some support for a Sun mode.
Yeah.
I think I don't know what it is, but there's a trade that happens on this team that takes it from, I think this team is very scary to really scary. Like it's already, I think this team's already scary.
It has the nicest step ladder of speed tiers I've ever seen. Each one is like
Pretty
10
solid.
higher than the last, pretty much.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Is that good? Like actual
Yes.
strategy. Is that a good thing to have in a draft?
I think so.
Nice. I think the more
every
options you
speed
have,
tier is something you have to respect.
Yeah.
It also helps because if you have two similar mons that have like the same speed, it's awkward to figure out which one you want to go first, and then you have to make sure that they don't speed tie. It's like it's really
I
nice. to
had my
have.
Great Sorrow for Rigraff speed time for like the first 4 games of last season, and it's
I know. My
talked
Great
to-
Tusk, Baxcalibur, and Glamora were all speed tying. It drove me crazy.
I talked to Jordan about this. We did some team building together, and it was against like a pretty hard Trick Room team. And he was like, just let them set up Trick Room, and you're just going to like calm mind in their face, or you're just going to like fire off attacks. You're just going to kill them first. And that kind of like flipped my perspective on the whole like Tailwind Trick Room thing. Like you have to spend a turn doing that. And if you have a team that's like really hard committed to 1 or 2 of those things, then people can take advantage by just killing you, right? Or just like bulking themselves up, like we were talking about Annihilate earlier, right? Like you want to set up Trick Room? Cool, I can bulk up and like pin missile or something, and then good luck, right? There are options. So if you know that somebody's going to go that route, it makes it a little bit easier in prep. It gives you a way to answer that, even if it seems like you don't have an answer. So that's why I kind of feel like the speed tiers don't matter that much. Because if I feel like my team is really weak to Trick Room, okay, good luck setting up Trick Room. I'm going to Torkoal Eruption in your face or whatever, right? Like there's always ways around it.
We did see the Trick Room meta rise last season with the hard Trick Room coach bringing the Whirlwind and the imprison type stuff. So we see that sometimes you can still get the Trick Room when you're really committed to it. But I like to say I did not say the team was bad in power rankings. I said the team was going to be very coin flippy in a way that I would find very frustrating. That like how your ability to set up Trick Room is going to depend on what you brought and what they brought, and it just changes the whole game, and you're not going to really control that aspect. But this is not a Trick Room team. This is a top heavy team. Is top heavy team are they still good now when we really reward you for getting low tiers? That's my question.
This is 3 Bagmons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were just 3-pointers, we would have given you a lot more good stuff. But we do have good stuff. We have a Chiempao and an Urshifu. It's meta. It's strong.
Right. So a lot of this, and going into this draft, Rich really wanted to be a top-heavy team. He was very adamant on it. He didn't, last season, if you look back at his matches, he didn't like bringing a lot of his lower tiers at all, but making sure that he can kind of control the game. And I think this team does that very well. Chiempao, Urshifu together they're insane. I mean, right away off the bat, you've got a pretty solid core right there. Arcanine, Hisui, Intimidate helps a bit. Rockhead is a great ability to have. Even Flash Fire in some situations is great. Corviknight was one I really pushed for him because Mirror Armor is great for this team. Your first 3 threats are physical attackers. Mirror Armor kind of discourages that right away. And if Corviknight's out, you get a free decrease to your opponent's attack for whatever he throws at you. Espathra, he loves Espathra. We all know that from last season. There's no doubt about that. Ditto was one I really pushed on, like 5 points for a mind that can be just about anything, even though it's a little gimmicky. Great value right there. Primeape, I mean, he can do some stuff with what's Urshifu Water's move? I can't even remember what it is.
Rapid.
Oh, we have a crit move.
strikes.
That's cool. Okay.
Surging strikes.
You can't Surging Strikes Primate. It'll
No,
kill
you
him.
can't do it. That does way too much.
Maybe
Sure you
Terra
can.
Water or
You
something.
You can make it work. We've tested it a couple times. There's some things that might make it work. All right, it's not going to be as good as Meowscarada and Primeape, but I mean he can make it work. So I mean overall, I think he did a better job drafting. He had a lot more input in this. The past season, I know I mentioned, he really was focused on more so like an easy to pilot team, and I think this is more of what he wanted to kind of put together than what I wanted him to put together, so which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I really love that context, you know, that he's like, I didn't trust my low tiers, so I want my top tiers to be really freaking good. And they are. Like, the wall breaking potential is huge. And I've yet to see someone be punished for bringing a spot through every week.
Right.
You can't really, like, I guess you could sucker punch it, but, like, I don't know.
Terra Fairy is so
Terra
good.
Fairy is there.
Urshifu punches through Protect.
Yeah. I kind of have a differing opinion on this. I have some problems with this team just because I feel like when you're going to go this top heavy, I feel like he's really, really lacking in speed control. Like, you have Tailwind on Corviknight, yes. You have Trick Room on Espathra, yes. You have Icy Wind on Chien-Pao, yes. But, like, none of those Mons are really, like, want to be clicking those moves necessarily. And I feel like when you draft a team that has Chien-Pao, Urshifu Rapid, Arcanine, like, those are Mons that are very susceptible to dying. Like, they're not the bulkiest in the world. So when you're not committing to a mode that gives you a lot of speed control, I'm concerned that he's going to run into a lot of problems where opponents win the speed war, and then even though he has the power, he doesn't have the turns to get it done, and he's going to end up dying before he can do what he wants. And the Scovillain, to me, doesn't really feel like a great Pokemon if you're going to commit to this top heavy core. I'd rather that be something that I feel fits a little better. Like, I'm a little confused on what it's doing here.
I feel like this team is going to lean really heavily into the Corviknight as one, like, the only defensive switch in on the entire team, basically. And it's also like a really big speed control option. The Corviknight's going to want to do a lot of different things, and it just unfortunately can't do all of them every week. I feel like Corviknight is going to be brought every single week, and it's going to need to do more things than it's capable of. So it's going to kind of drive the team down the power rankings for me a little bit.
This team has a really hard time dealing with a fake out plus Trick Room Center lead. It's because you can obviously deal with it if there's a way to double up on a target. Urshifu plus Chien-Pao deletes entire teams. But if you get in a situation where one of them can't act and then you get the Trick Room off, this team has a really hard time coming back from that, even considering Chien-Pao and Urshifu's priority. It's pretty rough if this team gets in Trick Room fighting like a physical, like a fighting type or something like that.
Right.
It's lots of problems.
I've never seen a move checklist so bare. And so, like, the move pool struggles are pretty real on this team. Like, even when we consider that some of the move pools are Mons that are never coming, I've actually seen screens. I was gonna say, like, what you do against a Trick Room, you set screens with Corviknight. I've actually seen it kind of work, but then we have the problem is that Corviknight is responsible for everything on this team. This is a team without a lot of depth, where it paid, I think, just so much in the early rounds that it couldn't fill it out. I think redirection could be a key piece of protecting the immense firepower. So what we do maybe is we downgrade Primeape to another low tier, not 1-pointer, but we upgrade the Scovillain. Is there something that's better in the redirection, like in the Toadscruel tier, whatever, that would, I think a better redirector might give these Mons a lot more freedom, because right now they're all sitting out here stranded. If anything that doesn't die to their moves is going to hit them really hard.
Fungus is available, and it costs the same as Scovillain, and it discourages a Trick Room mode.
I have a better idea.
Fungus, I think great. Go for it.
I think you dump Scovillain, you dump Charmander. You have 9 points available, 2 slots. You either pick up one of Hoppip for 1 point, who does the same thing, or if you want a little more bulk, you grab Skiploom for 3, and then you can grab a Ghost type in the 7 or 8 tier, depending on what you want. They have Poltergeist is available in 7, which has Trick Room and is a ghost type and immune to fake out. I was also looking at Frostlass in 8, but there's already an ice type, so I don't know if you want to do that, but that is also an option. Just things to consider.
I've got a radically different idea. I think one of the problems that we're not talking about with this team is that Qian Pao's job is to hit things, Urshifu's job is to hit things, and Arcanine's job is to hit things. We're not even talking about like the let's Terra Arcanine and then click on Will-O-Wisp and pretend it's a regular Arcanine thing with Arcanine. The problem that we're having is Corviknight has to do everything. Espathra's job is to come out and be fast and hit things. I think a thing that could happen with this team is you drop Arcanine, Corviknight, Primeape, and Scovillain, or some combination of that. Maybe you drop Ditto. You figure out the points, and you find. I really love Bohm's comment that Rich, we wanted this to be a top-heavy team. Intentionally, I didn't bring my low-tier Mons, so let's just make it top-heavy. I think that the combination of these Mons, specifically because Qian Pao and Urshifu's job are to hit things, I think you can get. Because the board is so wide and there's so much left over, like I can look at any Mon in this board and say, okay, what 3 or 4 Mons can I just completely swap out and get more utility? Like if I had, I'll say Breloom again. I'll say I'm looking at Indeedee. I'm looking at Gengar. I'm looking at Pawmot. I'm looking at Skeledirge. Yeah. Like there are so many Mons that can come out, and I'm not. It's probably just going to hit me with a big old move, but like maybe it has another job. It's still being top heavy, but there's so much left in 17 through 12 that I think you can just do a big shift here and have a better. Maybe Corviknight's just fine. You know, there's some sort of bigger shift rather than just. You know, I don't think changing Charmander to Hoppip solves the problems of this team.
Yeah,
Corviknight is
bulky backbone
broken. That's
not Corviknight. You know, Mons that don't live and die on whether they get the Oko. That's
yeah. I don't think you don't need
it. You don't need to have.
Yeah, I think you need one more
Mons, but I think like some of these, even Mons 5, 6, 7 are kind of conditional. And that's my issue. Is I would like a couple of Mons that I'm more reliably able to trust to do something that aren't Corviknight.
Yeah.
So we've hammered it hard enough. We think that so this team has amazing things to work with, and with a couple of transactions can skyrocket, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah, I think the best thing about this team is, regardless of how the season goes, Rich is going to get a lot out of it and be able to kind of build better to what he wants to do.
Offense works. Like these Mons definitely work. Like, and so there's no consistent answer to Chen Pao plus Urshifu right in your face.
No.
You should pick up Florges. Somebody didn't draft it.
Yeah, that Mon is
not being drafted is silly. Someone get Florges.
I was actually thinking about Bone picking it up, but
I heavily considered it. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
something to think about.
It's kind of
or pass on, whatever you want.
All right, so now back to me shitting on bulky teams. I've become a more aggressive player, and my issue is like bulk's great, but like what I respect from turn 1 besides Regi Drago here.
I tell you what you respect on turn 1. You respect the Gothitelle Trick Room setup into Azumarill plus Alola Muck. It does a lot. I had the Azumarill Gothitelle combo a couple seasons ago, and Azumarill ended up being my kill leader. This thing is absolutely cracked. It can use a choice band. It does insane damage with Water Fairy, which is one of the best typings in the game possible. And I know we talked about Regi Drago on lead, but Regi Drago on lead is fucking scary. You're gonna bring the Terra Fairy, you're gonna bring the Terra Steel specifically to deal with that. But then Arcanine comes and swaps in, and then, you know, you just threw 2 moves into a slot that did maybe 30% and lost your attack stat.
And you got intimidated, and
you're still trapped. So I really like having this team. I think this is such a cool style of draft. There's a couple pieces here that confuse me, honestly. I don't know why Bramblegast and Miss Mages are here. I think both of them suck. Bramblegast especially. If you don't have a... I guess you have Murkrow.
Yeah, he's synergized with Murkrow.
Yeah, I was thinking of the genies. So, you know, maybe it's anti-genie tech. Yeah, I like this team. I think it's cool. I think Regi Drago plus Gothitelle is always scary. Gothitelle plus anything is scary. Even if you don't run Shadow Tag, you run Frisk, you find out who has the Assault Vest to live those hits, who has your clear amulet, so you know who to fake out and not to. And Arcanine plus Azumarill is going to be the backbone of this team. I think Regidrago's a flashy, it's a lot of pizzazz, but it's not going to be the core. I think Arcanine and Azumarill are going to be the core. They're going to water. They're going to tear water. They're going to tear grass. They're going to flip their types around. But those two are so solid that I think the rest of the team supports it. And Magnezone too. I don't want to hate on. I don't want to forget Magnezone. That thing does insane amounts of damage. Sturdy is such a good built-in ability, a built-in focus dash for what? Nothing? Awesome, I'll take it. And it's another trapper if you want to be really evil and pair it with a Jigglypuff Perish Song, right?
I think the muck is going to be phenomenal with a lot of these Pokemon because it's going to take those abilities when they die. Right. And if you're setting up Minimize next to a Shadow Tag, next to a Perish Song or a Friend Guard, right? Or a
Friend Guard Muck sounds awesome.
Wind Rider Muck.
Right. I mean, there's so many huge power, right? Like how many abilities on this team go with the Muck? The Muck is dirty, man. And the Muck, its only weakness is ground. And we have a couple ground immunities on this team too. Bramblegast is resisting. I mean, you got the Arcanine and the Muck and I guess Magnezone, right? Those are the only things they don't like to eat ground moves. But I mean, I feel like the Muck is going to be really scary. I don't like Muck. I think it should have been priced higher.
Agree with great Muck synergies and agree with in general cool team. Like I'm definitely no disagreement with it is the team cool. But to pop in saying that like Arcanine and Azumarill are the heart of the team, like I just ran a team, 2 seasons back now, with Arcanine and Azumarill and it struggled. And I think like the team wasn't horrible, but what I found is that bulky mid-speed teams, they think they're controlling the game and they're not. And the problem is speed is the most important thing in the game when it comes to getting to do what you want to do. That I felt like every time I was being outsped, I was ceding control of the game. And I don't see, Murkrow Tailwind pulls a lot of weight. I would have loved to have had that. But Arcanine doesn't take OHKOs even when it goes first. Gothitelle doesn't either. Magnezone is very strong, but I think it is still situational. I do see it lose a fair amount, and I would have liked some more depth picks. I think the team is a little too focused on bulk and not enough focused on here's my strong threats, try to deal with it. We have the Regidrago, and we have good protection with the Regidrago, like we beat Fairies and Steels, okay? But I would have liked a couple more, here's my big threat, how do you beat it?
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there. Like this team feels a little bit passive to me. I mean, even just, I know it's not always great to look at the averages without context, but an average attack of 79, special attack 82. Like, I'm just wondering where, like, I think there's a little too much support going on. I feel like you got the Jigglypuff, the Alomomola, those are low tiers that are not doing a lot of damage. Obviously that's only 4 points worth, so they're not really coming anyway. But even then, you've got the Gothitelle, you've got the Murkrow you committed. Arcanine operates really well as a support, and as you said, if you run it offensively, it's not taking the OHKOs that you would want by running that offensively with only a 110 attack stat. It does get a really powerful Flare Blitz, and the Regidrago feels a little bit exploitable to me. Like Poppin said, you're gonna bring the Terra Fairies, right? Like it's definitely scary, don't get me wrong, but if I'm playing this team, I'm gonna prep for the Regidrago, and I'm just gonna assume that the rest of my strategy can outpace the offense that he's bringing. So I think it's a really cool team. I definitely agree, and he has a lot of cool synergy. I just wish there was a little bit more powerful offense. Like this team feels like it's missing the headliner damage dealer that brings it all together.
I think there's two. I think there's 2 or 3
attack for huge power. By the way,
I don't know.
It's not great.
I disagree. Strongly, actually. I think there are plenty of offensive threats. I think that the ability spread on this team is really nice. I think that you have setup options with Azumarill. I think Magnezone does a lot of damage. Regidrago obviously does. I think that Muck is going to be like a real sleeper this season, genuinely. And then this team has really solid speed control options, with Trick Room and Prankster Tailwind. I think this is an excellent team.
Yeah, I think a lot of where it's hidden at is Dragon's Maw increases damage on dragon moves. You got huge power on Azumarill. You've got Wind Rider on Bramblegast. The stat chart itself doesn't show the full story. I think it has its weaknesses for sure, but I think there's some strengths to it for sure.
Yeah, I feel like you invest 15 points in the Murkrow. I wish there was a little bit.
Yeah.
There's something else that really benefits from that tailwind that you're getting prankster
Right.
to. Like here I'm seeing the Regi Drago is obviously an amazing abuser of tailwind. The Bramble Gas is kind of made for tailwind, but aside from that, I'm not seeing anything that really loves to take advantage of that tailwind to utilize an amazing attack stat. Like the Azumarill gets priority Aqua Jet, but you don't want to be running it fast necessarily. I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take for me, but I just wish there was more offense here. I agree that the context.
There are good varied opinions on this one.
Yeah.
We'll see if it works. I don't believe in bulk, but it does have power. You just need to get your multipliers going.
Yeah.
So cool team popping or not popping. Heaven.
I'll take credit for it though. Thank you, Jordan.
Cut that. We'll cut that.
For the first time, I'm gonna shut up this video. Go for it, guys. This team's confusing to all of you. I know it.
Eviscerate this team. Let's go.
I mean, it's got Ting Lu. Like, what more do you need, really?
It's got Iron Valiant. What more do you need?
That's
it's
so
in
true.
S tier. Let's move on to the next
Iron
one.
Valiant as a tier 2 pick, a round 2 pick. Oh my god, that's
Even Vessel Rune can't save Iron Valiant.
Iron Valiant is so crazy good.
No, I love Iron Valiant.
I don't understand how people don't agree with this. That Pokemon is so ridiculously good. It gives you speed control. It gives you offense, specially and physically. It gives you extreme frailty. I understand that. Okay. Like, I'm not going to say, you're never going to bulk this thing out and live hits. It's not going to happen. But this Pokemon gives you so many options on a week-to-week basis. I think it's super strong. And I like that Jordan kind of built this team, not, like we saw some teams earlier with the Rune Pokemon that lean into it really hard, right? I don't think that this team necessarily does. It gives you varied options, which I think is really important in drafts, because if you're running the same thing week to week, then people are able to prep around that, right? And I think that something that's nice that Jordan did with this team is it's kind of difficult when you look at it on paper. It's not just like, what are we doing around Vessel of Ruin this week? There are other options too. So
I look at this team and I don't see a weak point. I feel like there's a lot of answers on this team. I really look at the Dondozo. I think that it's a really cool defensive core with the Ting Lu and the Dondozo, despite Jordan being very adamant against these bulky teams. But there is a lot of offense on this team too. Like Ting Lu, Dondozo, Moltres all feel very good in defensive. I don't know what Swallow does, but I'm sure it does defensive things too. But Staraptor actually does a ton of damage while also being an Intimidator. I don't know if you run it Reckless. What does Reckless do? It's like extra damage for recoil attacks or something?
Extra damage on basically Brave Bird, 20% more on Brave.
Yeah, like Staraptor can just delete things, Choice Band, Choice Scarf, U-turn, I don't know. Iron Valiant can come out and delete things from either side of the spectrum, and Ting Lu can come out and delete things. I think I like that the focus here is on physical attackers because, again, you have Ting Lu. You don't want a ton of special attackers to really focus on, but the speed tiers are really nice. You have Jolteon and Staraptor going really fast. You have Iron Valiant who can get way fast. I think there's a lot of really cool things. I'm a big Jolteon believer. I love Jolteon. I love pin missling things for reasons.
Me too.
This team doesn't pin missile, but big fast Thunderbolts, big fast Thunder Waves, Eerie Impulses, just Volt Switch on Jolteon. It's a mon that when you prep, you're like, well, my thing works, but I'm relying on a Tornadus. I hope that after I click my thing, the Specs Jolteon doesn't kill my Tornadus. Jolteon always threatens to kill a thing in prep. I think there's options here. There's tools here.
Yeah. So I'm prepping against Steve right now, who actually has the Ting Lu Dondozo core as well. And holy shit, these two don't die, especially when they're on the field at the same time, because you see Dondozo, all right, I'll try to take advantage of the special defense, and then Vessel of Ruin comes in and makes you incredibly sad. It's so hard to beat through both of these, and they both have not, look at Ting Lu is the bulkiest one in the format. Dondozo is, number 10? Yeah. It's crazy.
And it's not even close. Ting Lu is disgusting. It's so
Ting Lu is
disgusting.
Ting Lu should be illegal. And whenever you see Ting Lu, you think, all right, I'm going to give it a lot of free turns. I probably want to Terra Flying. And that's what Jolteon's for. It's really, really hard to deal with this team over many turns of repeated Wave Crash, Earthquake, T-Bolt, whatever the fuck Iron Valiant wants to do that week. This is a really good team. And everything is breakable except for Growlithe, but, he's he's doing his job there. He's a little cute mascot.
I think Rockhead. Did you not see that Delibird calc? It does like 1,000% to Delibird or something.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the most important calc. Yeah, you're right on the money, Poppin. I will say that a lot of the Ting-Lu teams that we saw last season, the first season it was legal, felt way too passive. And I think Jordan did a really good job of getting really active Pokemon to accompany it. Because if you're going to take a mon like Ting-Lu, I feel like you can't fully commit to just outlasting your opponent. So the Iron Valiant, to me, was the perfect pick 2 for this team. I think the Iron Valiant and the Dondozo are staples of this team alongside the Ting-Lu, and we're going to be seeing a lot of those 3 plus his additional picks throughout the season.
So Iron Valiant, so frail, right? Bulkier than Rotom. Same. We're saying on the defense side, same bulk as Rotom.
Okay, on the defense side, but it's a huge asterisk, right? Like, come on.
No, I'm gonna give that to him. That's a real point.
It's fine.
I'm an Iron Valiant neutral. I'm not a believer. I'm not a hater. I think it's a great mon.
Well, you must have a strong opinion about Iron Valiant because everybody else does.
Right. I'm a big believer, but I mean special hits. It's dead, right? So
yeah,
but I think that's what Ting-Lu's
y'all
for.
called out that like I wanted the team to be aggressive enough that a Ting-Lu is. And you add a well balanced, fairly aggressive team, and you add the ability to turn on Snarl on anybody with no blocking anytime I want on switching. It's just like that. Yeah. That's how you keep these mons alive. I can Calm Mind Iron Valiant and run as a special attacker. If I get space to Calm Mind, I feel like special attackers are fine next to Ting-Lu. I typically like my pretty type charts, and mine's not as pretty. Like I kind of know what's coming, but Steve said when he ran the random draft, he's like, well, I have obvious weak points, but like I already know what people are going to bring, and so I'm going to be crafty with Terras. I think this team has a higher potential than my last team, but I think it will be harder to achieve that potential because the team is weird.
I think this team
is going to be easy to get dubs with.
I think that there are weaknesses too that we haven't talked about though. Like on the special attacking end, and I know you have Ting-Lu, but the special attackers aren't crazy. Iron Valiant, and I used it, and I'm a huge believer in it. It wants to run physical a lot of weeks. It doesn't have to, right? 120 special attack. It's not crazy. Moltres, I think Moltres was also underpriced. I think that was kind of a steal for 11, or what was it?
Mm-hmm. It was 11. You're right.
Yeah, 11. So I think that was kind of a steal for 11 points. But that doesn't like to eat rock slides. But Ting-Lu exists, so there are some weaknesses here. You're kind of weak on the special defense side, which Ting-Lu kind of makes up for. But occasionally, when you want to run those special attackers, when Ting-Lu gets dealt with, which it will, because that's what people are prepping for every week. Ting-Lu's coming, right? It has to come.
It routinely lives 2 stab super effective moves. Like, but obviously, like, yeah, if I fall too far behind, if I can't take 3 KOs, Ting-Lu is not going to save the day.
Just run Fissure.
Maybe.
It might come down to that because it's not super threatening otherwise, right? Like 110 attack is solid. I'm just trying to kind of pick holes here. Ting-Lu is obviously incredible. I think it should have been 30 points, but whatever.
Metacham, secret pick. I've got 93 attack before you factor in huge power.
Metacham sucks.
Wow, okay.
But it's got fake out.
Where do y'all have me? Because I frankly feel like y'all are more positive than I thought you would have been. You would have been like, bad type chart, squishy Pokemon, but I...
Oh, 2 reds, oh no, so bad.
Yeah. Jordan, where do you think it is?
I think... Well, are we doing potential or like average result? I think this is like low A, top B.
I'm there. I'm putting you in a
modest.
solid A tier. It's got the flexibility that I really value in a draft.
Yeah.
Could have been Miss Magius, but
He hates Miss Magius.
Really great.
For some reason.
Does he?
I have it in A, but I think it's really good.
This Travis is better.
I disagree, but I think they're both fine. But anyway.
Anyway, so
is this purple?
This is bulk, but we think it works better. I'm pretty optimistic. I have some concerns about bulky teams in general. I'm concerned when Purple said I want to run this as a bulky team because I feel like bulky teams give up control of the game. But there is a lot of control over this game with Toad Scroll, with Screamtail Encore disabling you. and a lot of good pivots, defensive Pokemon that still do some damage. And like plenty of offense, plenty of defense. I'm stealing the intro here, but I think this is a bulky team done right that has enough options to be disruptive and not let people execute their plan.
So I think this might be my favorite draft of the format. I'm really high on a lot of these mons. I think that Heatran is a fantastic first pick. I think it's just, it's always a menace. It's always scary. It's really hard to prep for, and its weaknesses are super easy to cover with the rest of your team. The Firewater Grass Core with Gyarados and Toedscruel, defensively they're fantastic, and all of them can be run defensively or offensively. That is a thing that I really value in a pick in general. Is my Gyarados going to be Dragon Dance, or is it going to be Thunderwave Taunt? And then I really like the Roaring Moon here. I know it was Moltres for a hot second, but Roaring Moon gives this the over-the-top speed that I think is important for the team. If it really wants to be this middling speed tier, then you have this really good Tailwind Mon. It can go really fast. It can do the booster acrobatics thing. I don't think the rest of the team really needs the Terra. I think this team can afford to do like Terra Fire Heatran or Terra damage with the acrobatics thing for Roaring Moon. I know that the defensive Terras are great, but the team is already so good defensively on its own. You get in the back half, you get the Gyarados Raichu combo, which we just kind of know is good, especially if you're running Roaring Moon into a flying type. You get Screamtail, which I think is a sleeper pick in this format. I think that it gets so many different moves, and the rest of the team does bring enough offense between the Heatran, the Roaring Moon, and the Gyarados. And Knuckle Stack, I think, is a fine endgame for the points that it was.
What are the bags?
They don't matter, so I removed them.
Finizen.
They don't matter.
We kept them for the other teams, though. I think that we should keep them.
Fenton and
the numbers look better when you remove them.
They do for everybody, though.
I'll tell you what, I played Purple Rain in an exhibition match, and I thought that Finizen was Palafin. So that alone provided value.
Real.
The model is like
maybe
so
your
similar.
opponent's illiterate.
That's fucked up. Yeah, if your opponent is not paying attention, then it's actually the best 1-point mon that you could get.
That's real. I'll take it.
I think, and again, I speak from experience a lot because I've been doing this for like multiple years now. But I think that Raichu and Gyarados is not a real combo, even though on paper it really looks like they are. I think that Raichu just doesn't really do as much as you would hope. It doesn't have any offense, really. It doesn't. Like, there are ways to make it do damage, sure. There are. And Gyarados just doesn't take the KOs that you really wish it would. Its move pool is not crazy, right? It has to set up Dragon Dance to become like a really strong offensive threat, and it does.
Dragon Dances.
Yeah, a lot of times it does need two, right? And
there is one attack worthy of respect on turn 1 from Gyarados, and it's Waterfall. That's the problem.
And that's 80 BP, right?
And it's not even Wave Crash, right?
Yeah, so it's not crazy. I still think it's a really strong mon, but I think that those two, when you see those two, you're like super scared. But then when you start running calcs, you're like, oh, actually, this is fucking fine. I'm not worried about it at all. And I dropped them last season for exactly that reason. Heatran, I think, is really well positioned on this team, though. I think Heatran is extremely threatening, especially with Terra and especially with the other supporting pieces that they have on this team, right? There's flying types, there's Screamtail, which synergizes with a lot of things on this team. I agree with whoever said earlier. I'm a little bit drunk now, but Screamtail has
Gyarados credit for a Dragon Dancer too, because I do think the team's ability to stall out some turns with Toedscruel or Screamtail is really good. But my main word of advice is I think there is a fair amount of ways to take advantage of a bulkier team that is not really able to stop plans quickly, but I'm not going to say them because this is my week 1 matchup. But I will say my advice for this team is you've got great bulk, now play offense. Do not play offense just because you have great bulk. You want your speed booster Tailwind. You want Life Orb on your Gyarados to catch people off guard. You really got to make sure that they can't do whatever they want to do. Okay.
Yeah, I feel Jordan, I know you made a point about bulk being a little passive and you got to do something with it, but I think he has 2 really bulky mons as the centerpieces of this team that do a lot with their bulk, because Heatran and Roaring Moon are really hard to deal with separately. Like, the Heatran is always a threat to Terra Grass, and you know it's coming, and it's still like really actually very hard to deal with. Like you really can't hit that super effectively unless you have really strong stab flying, which is not common because often you're either running Hurricane, which is inaccurate, or there's not a lot of physical flying moves, or you're running Poison, which is not a common type you have either.
Jordan does have the Brave Bird on the Star Raptor.
Yo, can we not talk about my matchup specifically?
Yeah,
no, we're absolutely talking about. I'm talking about
like
strong flying types.
The Roaring Moon,
I got the option.
I know Roaring Moon's gotten a lot of flack as Roaring Mid because of that 71 defense stat, and it just But this thing, listen,
Moon is really really good.
It's really good. Yeah. People are sleeping on this Mon. It's so strong. 139 attack. It gets if obviously it dies to a sneeze if it gets hit by a play rough, but not every team has that available, and it's booster energy, it's tailwind, it's offense, it's really really strong, and if he positions it well with the Gyarados, then those top three are really really good focal points for this team.
Yeah, they pair so well together.
Is there a Sun mode on this team too?
Not.
Does Screamtail get Sunny Day?
Anything with Sunny Day can boost both of them, so that is something, and can boost Heatran. So sure, yeah.
Screamtail does get Sunny Day actually, so you could booster energy Sunny Day, boost itself and the Roaring Moon.
I think Bravier is kill leader on this team.
Yeah, Caesar's great.
That's a hot take, Goose.
Yeah.
Okay,
somebody write that down so we don't forget.
I'll write it down. I'll write that down right now.
This is top of A for me.
People? I'm putting it top of A.
Yeah, top of A for me.
I have it top of B.
Ooh, I have it in my S tier.
All right, another Tay team. Why did we unban him? He's so good.
Did we save the best for last?
Oh, it's so
good.
We
didn't. Ceruledge is on this team, and Ceruledge sucks. F tier.
True.
It's last pick.
That's why he was the last one.
It's last pick, Ceruledge.
I don't know what he's thinking. He's gonna smoke everyone with it, and I'm gonna look like an absolute moron. But I'll die saying Ceruledge is not good in draft.
Tay makes us all look like morons, dude. No worries.
How do I lose my round 2 Tinkaton pick? I thought that was so solid. I lost it to Tay.
I think Tay was in his draft strategy. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure part of it was that and knowing when people wanted to pick Mons and like where their value timing is during the draft and grabbing them the turn earlier.
Yeah, he doesn't only flowchart his games, he flowcharts the draft, which is we got to start doing that.
He sniped the turn before Purple Rain picked it up too.
Yep, he sniped Riolu before Sora wanted it. Like he was going sicko mode.
What's nuts to me is that Fergaraf, lower power level format, I thought was the best Mon on my entire team. Poppin said it was one of the best Mons on his team, and it's like the 6th best Mon on this team. like maybe it's better than a couple of these, but like there's just so much depth to this team. Like Sandy Shocks is such a problem, was a kill leader for me when I had it. Like Dragonite is just wrecking me every season. I fully expect to get wrecked by this Dragonite as well, and it's just the fact that I can't hyper-focus on anything. I can't hyper-focus on 3 Mons. I respect everything in these 6, and I even got to respect Ceruledge too. I even got to respect Ice Q, right? Any physical dominant team could potentially get surprised by an Ice Q.
Yeah. I think Torrentee is really important to this team. Like, you throw a Sash on Torrentee, you have one of the fastest tailwinds in the format, unless you have like Talonflame, Kilowattrel, or Noivern, which most teams won't, right? Like, you are going first, you're getting your speed control option. And like I said, on base Tornadus, like Torrentee also gets Bleak Wind Storm, and it's just so spammable. You literally, like, you don't even have to set Tailwind. Like, you just start Bleak Wind Storming turn 1 with a Focus Sash, and you're a big problem because it also has a 30% chance to lower your speed. So it's kind of like passive speed control in that way, while also doing a lot of damage. Like, this thing is 110 special attack on 100 base power spread move. Really, really strong. And he followed up his Dragonite pick with some good supportive options for it, I think. If you're going to pick the Dragonite, the Tinkaton is really great. Get some fake out support. Running that multi-scale, you're not going to be clicking fake out into the Dragonite anyway, out of fear of inner focus. And the multi-scale gives such a great boost to the Dragonite's already amazing bulk. We've seen Dragonite be a core member of several teams that have made it very far in the playoffs. So, yeah, I mean, Tay always has solid drafts and solid play. This is no different. This is a great team. I will say that some of the low tiers I feel like are not going to end up coming. Like, I think this is a little more top heavy than some of Tay's teams have been in the past. Like the Rylu, Ice Cube, and Hippopotas, I honestly don't respect that much. And maybe that's a hot take for me about Ice Cube. Like, I get it's decent value at 2 points, sure. But like, are you ever bringing Ice Cube, like, honestly, and actually expecting it to do anything? Like, I feel like Ice Face is kind of a gimmick, honestly.
So is Urshifu.
I think of the bottom 5, Chestnut is the only one that could possibly come.
All right, Cerulege is coming. Come on,
Get
now.
shit on Cerulege.
Nah,
It's coming.
He
Even if
can
you don't
bring
like
it, and it will die.
It's
He can
coming
bring
in the
it.
match.
He can get foul played. That's fine.
I'm trying so hard to find a sand mode.
The way that you deal with
Just counter weather, I think. And for
I think so too.
points,
I don't
it's
think there's a sin.
Yeah.
well, if you're trying to deal with Dragonite, you want to burn it, right? So having Cerulege in the back is really nice in those situations.
Good freaking team. Is it top tier?
No.
I think it's A for me. I don't think it quite reaches us. It's definitely great though.
All right,
Tay
and
always
I'm
has
more
great drafts.
optimistic than some others because I think the only reason you're not bringing Ice Cube is because there's so much depth. I do think the Chestnut gets brought. I do think
Chestnut's a good mod.
Chestnut.
Chestnut's fine.
It's legitimately good. And Riolu is going to come once and Prankster Howl, and it'll be just fine. It'll be fine. And so I think Tay continuing to school us. If you're gonna invest 2 points for a mon, it should have one clear usage, and these mons do. If you're gonna invest, if you can get 6 great Pokemon, that's better than getting a couple of teams earlier we saw had 3 or 4 great Pokemon. Like the threat bubble is here, the speeds are here, the power is here, the options are here. This is a great team.
And it's got gravity. The only good gravity setter in the format.
Sandy.
Yeah.
All right.
I think
so
Sandy
I'm
Shocks
gonna
is a
combine
problem,
these.
yeah.
We're gonna drop them all in the Discord. It'll be great. Wait for me to at least post the first one. But thank you all for watching the season. The 10th season of the VBL, the best VGC Draft League, is coming. Like, comment, and subscribe. Blah blah blah. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.